right
looks
there.
like the Tamagotchi's going back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Says the
One
contractor.
is used to that.
About 20,000.
Yeah, we need 20,000. We don't want to shoot any of them. The restraining
I
order.
want you
Absolutely.
to join the club.
Yeah, you know.
Hiya, Super Janet.
No, super grand. Hey guys, welcome back, Informatics Podcast. As ever, joined by the most interesting of people. Daniel, the business of the podcast, of course, first and
Yeah,
foremost.
welcome back. Thanks, Kenny. Interesting one today. We're actually swerving a bit more back to tech.
Yep.
We've covered off well-being, we've covered off rock stars, we've covered off me.
A mixture of all of the above.
Well, thanks to all out there, new subscribers, old subscribers. We love the fact that, I mean, I think one of the last podcasts was the most successful so far. So they are getting more informative, and we're basing these on the questions that we get from you. So as you know, we're powered by Xtelligence.com. We always publish a position. So we're desperately looking for Informatica programmers. If you're interested, the job spec will be... No, it won't. Go to Xtelligence.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so for the guest today, we have a guy called Pino Nicholson. My name's Danny Beer, and this is Kenny Vodka. We'll get into the next thing. So Kenny, if you want to introduce our
Exactly. Pino comes to us a recommendation. I think you've known Kellen for a while, so we're going to welcome him to the podcast.
Welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hi guys. All right.
I think we've actually met under a table about 15 years ago.
I
just
think
debating
most definitely.
in the pre-brief, we're debating whether we know each other, whether we know each other
Yeah,
consciously.
we're all sober masters now.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
quite
I'm
weird.
getting there. Exactly. And Pino, today we're going to talk about your world. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your world?
Yeah, I've been living in Czech for 17 years now. Very
man.
happy. I live outside of Prague, which is quite a different thing for an expat. But I live out near a little town called Pardubice.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, well,
there we go to the air shows.
Yeah,
there.
it's
Yeah,
like to
the
play
air
on
shows
again,
are very good.
Yeah.
And been there for 17 years.
Oh, you've
and
always lived outside of Prague?
Yes.
Oh.
I've never lived
Oh, that's
outside
why.
of Prague.
That's why he looks young and fresh.
Good lad.
No, I'm actually only 33, but I've just had a very
hard paper round.
life.
Tough paper round.
It's tough life. I'm currently working as CEO for Damas Engineering Consulting. We are specialists within workforce team augmentation, predominantly focused on the Czech market. We do have other international offices, including Saudi Arabia, Serbia, Italy. We're an Italian-based company, but we're working as an SRO here in Czech. I've opened up recently an office in Pardubice, but we have an office in Branik here as well.
Okay, so you've got an office near a brewery and one near your home, but you can't be bothered coming into the
Let's open over there. So exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the kind of pair of jeans out of it: London, New York, Frankfurt, Pardubice, Saudi Arabia, Branik.
It does look a little bit strange when you go, we have offices in Prague and some little place.
Well, for those who don't know the names, they'll be, well, that's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Actually, there's nothing wrong with Branik.
It reminds me of the Only Fools and Horses on the yellow van. London, New York, and Crackham. Exactly.
And what's what does the company do? I think you develop software. You develop.
Yeah, well, we don't so much develop software. We're a consultancy which enables our clients to reach their technological goals, whether that's legacy transformation or integration with AI or automation.
Okay.
But it is very software development.
It's software.
Okay.
For more of an industrial industry. So give us an example.
Our main areas would be finance, automotive, healthcare, and also getting into some other areas as well, maybe military, maybe something along those sorts of lines.
Fantastic. And you're kind of you have to develop a kind of pool of resources that can be made available either on a kind of day rate basis. Or
That's correct. That's correct. We do offer. We're trying to help our clients grow. So very much we're trying to introduce people that would help them get people where they want to be in terms of their.
Give us a use case.
For
the audience.
Actually, while we're here, we normally.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
As is true tradition of the show, every guest has come on, and how many shows we've done now? 50 plus.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a random gift, and the last show we had with the wonderful Dan Reed, out there, the gift went down really well. So we've given everything away from like bath-friendly games that are zero trust being the first episode of the show. But the last one went down a treat, so you got yourself your own cyber pet.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, so
That
when
brings
you're,
back
stuck,
memories.
when you're stuck in the car outside Brannick,
Yeah.
just, make sure to feed Terry over there.
Give me something to fiddle with
Terry
in the
from
car.
Runcorn.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
When was the last time you got one of those?
Back in the
He's
back in the
You've got
Etch-a-Sketch
a
days.
Cyberpad.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was Tamagotchi, wasn't it, when we were...
It was Tamagotchi, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
They were
massive.
wrist. They were them on your wrist. I can't remember.
No, they were like that.
They were
Like
like
a
that.
key ring.
They were okay.
Anyway, back
Those
to
were very
shows you what-
expensive.
shows you what I
to
know.
where
Yeah, so we enable our clients, and just recently we've started working much closer with Xtelligence in terms of
Interesting. Cool.
cyber security, because it's one of the offerings that
Yeah.
it's not the strongest for us.
I see.
We're strongest in development, whether it be back end, front end, whether it's Java,
Okay.
Angular, React, etc. But the cybersecurity stuff, we would rather work with a trusted professional.
Yeah.
Like Xtelligence,
He's
Khaled in his
a
company.
brown envelope.
Yeah,
with some money under the table
he's selling it
there.
well, isn't he? All that
Maybe.
kind of stuff.
So I mean,
Exactly.
we were discussing before. Before we get on to AI, because AI is a topic. Pretty much, it comes into
It-
every
it fits- yeah, every episode,
conversation
exactly.
because it does. So does zero trust. So the world of software development, and especially the world of software development, in this is a small market, even though
Yeah.
it's a market with incredibly talented people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you seen the shift in the way software is built compared to when, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you got no code coming in,
Yeah.
and how that is impacting.
Is it positively impact?
Is it a positive? Is
Yeah.
it not? Educational wise for people that are doing it?
Are you talking specifically about the Czech market or in general?
In general, but your experience, because you're kind of focused more
Yeah.
on this market and the resources that you have
Yeah.
in developing it, I suppose.
I think coding has become smarter, as one would expect
Yep.
it to be, but it has become smarter. Unfortunately for the Czech market specifically, we do have a lot of competition.
Right.
Poland especially
Right.
is big competition for the Czech market. Romania, Bulgaria, and even further east than that. And I think we have to look at ways that keep the Czech Republic competitive
Sure.
when looking to attract foreign investment.
Okay, so are we talking predominantly the cost of a resource or the
Cost
skill of a resource?
The cost and skill of a resource.
okay.
There's a lot of people that say, and I say this without any prejudice whatsoever,
of course.
is that a lot of people will go, okay, let's sub stuff out to India, for example. However, there seems to be the issue reported back from some key clients that although the work will be done cheaply,
Quality.
the
Quality
quality-wise
suffers.
is suffering,
Yeah.
and quite often they end up spending more in correcting the mistakes that were made.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny, you remember we all worked in the same organisation in DHL
Yeah.
IT services.
Yeah.
How we all met 20 plus years ago,
Yeah.
and the supply and demand model,
Yeah.
kind of pulled the companies apart, separation, transformation.
Yeah.
But then the outsourcing model came into play,
Yeah.
where we weren't needed because it was going to the likes of India. Now my whole team is in India. I love
Yeah,
my
as
team.
is mine. Yeah.
The attrition rates are incredible to
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
right
sure.
resources
Yeah.
because of the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because you take a population of 1 billion, which is all of Europe and the States together.
Yeah.
You've got the resources to throw at it.
Yeah.
And it's not coming in at a lower price. The rate card is the same as if you were taking a resource here.
I've always-
Exactly,
the
but the
bottom
cost
line-
of living.
but so that's what we're talking about here.
You see, where we are at the moment, and I've done some work in speaking to a lot of our sort of key clients, and there would be people like BNP Paribas, Rapid7, Commerzbank, Deutsche
Yeah.
Börse, people like this. And what they're seeing now is that the cost of a developer in Prague is actually on a very similar level to the UK outside of London now.
Okay. Right.
And is that because the Czech Republic or Central Europe, Poland, etc., there's a higher percentage of people coming into that as a trade, software development as a trade, or is it because
No.
Cost of living here has
It-
gone up though, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Cost of living has gone up.
Or have we got that post-COVID mentality where if I'm in a trade that lets me be anywhere in software development, you can be in the moon.
Yeah.
There's a
You can with Starlink, whatever it's called, can't you?
Exactly. Well, what my point of making is, are we making choices more akin to remote working, which is typically software development, amongst other things?
Yeah.
Are we making choices that, because we don't want it entirely offshore, we can source here? And I've kind of got. I work a lot in data governance, and you can't have data outside of the EU or outside
No.
of the country.
Correct.
Sometimes that doesn't mean you don't have the workers remoting in or that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Everyone needs to be on the same network.
yeah,
with,
all that kind of
hardware.
stuff. So the
With
data
the
doesn't leave,
security.
the people can be whatever, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So is there any clear trend in any one way direction or the other, or a mix and match?
Well, I think for the industry in the Czech Republic, we need to really think about what's going to happen over the next 5 years regarding software.
I know where we're going with this.
Software development. Okay.
Right
Looks
there.
like the Tamagotchi's going back.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's my Nokia 2110?
Yeah.
But realistically, if we want to stay competitive
Yeah.
for foreign investment for the Czech market, we need to control the rates. A lot of the software developers are obviously self-employed, employed by the likes of Damas, employed by the likes of Xtelligence as well,
Yeah.
and fulfill good tasks and are very valuable to the clients. However, with the rising costs, and especially when you look at the fact of our inflation level in the Czech Republic,
Which
is
was electric with your
steady,
17-something%, yeah.
2 point whatever percent,
Yeah.
and it's forecast to stay like that
Yeah.
for the next 3 to 5 years. We need to put a curb on the amount of money that people should be earning. And that's not saying that they don't deserve it. They're saying if they want some longevity, or if we need longevity within the offshoring of American companies or German companies to develop here in the Czech Republic.
So how would you do? Doesn't that mean you're at risk of losing this talent to other markets that pay better rates?
Before you answer, I've got particularly controversial view on this. If you look at the length of the contractual supply chain, by the time you've put a bum in a seat for software development or project management, whatever it might be, and by the time the end brand, DHL, whoever it might be, gets the bill, there can be 4 to 5 parties in that supply chain.
That's true.
And so we know what happens to us all, and because I work in, I control my own cost, which is a ridiculous that way.
My wife controls my
Right.
out.
Yeah, mainly.
I love you, darling.
And multiples of seconds, I imagine that takes. But I see the charge rate that hits the P&L or the UBM project cost center, right? Yeah. And it isn't. I mean, I am
10 times the amount.
absolutely.
At the
So
end,
if you look at everywhere in there, so. My thinking, I'm sorry, to lead the conversation, we should be taking some advice from you, is that needs to shorten up. Parties need to be taken out.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
There are too many people in the supply chain.
Yeah.
It needs to be the third party and their staff or their contractors straight there. No umbrella companies. No, it goes through here. They're subcontracted to here. It gets messy, and it presents a problem for the client. Not only that everyone's taking a slice of the pie,
of course,
but also for audit purposes.
Yeah.
When retracing that back to that person came from there, who was
I mean, there's loads
subcontracted.
loads of control kind of goes into that. And so you're talking of parties. I can think of, and somewhat, well, at least one of my contracts, there was 5 parties on the supply, including me.
Yeah, I was 4.
And because everyone wants to kind of get in, so they can. I'm not saying they want to say they work for Novartis or these big brands. But the big brands themselves have only, in my view, they've only got themselves to blame. They don't want contract. They don't want close contract obligations. So the bigger the distance between the likes of their contract staff and them, there's less people likely to claim employment rights and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be, in my view, counterproductive because these big brands are going to stop investing.
Yeah.
In Central Europe, in favour of other locations.
That's what Pino was saying.
Pino was saying exactly that.
How to retain without the greed factor of everybody wanting a slice of the pie.
Now, the fact is, at the moment, we are about, and it has been this way for the last few years, we're about 20,000 people short within the talent pool.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means, one, internal resources or internal HR and recruitment agencies in the traditional sense are, to coin a very eloquent phrase, bum fighting over the same people. We have an unemployment rate in Czech Republic under 3%.
Which is the unemployable, that's your long-term sick.
Yeah.
I believe.
So there's a couple of things.
It's a skill shortage.
There's a skill shortage. Those that are looking for work, though I believe for the audience they are legitimate, but in a market where there is 3% unemployment, to not have a job within the sector does call into consideration or does call into question
How hard they are.
Why?
Yeah. How
Why?
are they being
It's
too
always
select?
there,
Yeah.
3% Czech Republic. Right?
Yeah, it bounces between 2 and 3. It's really not high.
It's a great place to work.
Yeah.
And, we'll have
comes
you know where intelligence is, and we know where
Exactly,
Pino is. So,
exactly.
honestly, if you're looking, we've got the most beautiful city in the world, beautiful women, beautiful alcohol, beautiful everything. Get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Ring the bell.
It's a lovely place
20,000
to
people
live.
we need go. Right, exactly. And it's 20,000 at any given day or time. I mean, a massive skill shortage. And there is an
Is
influx.
a skill shortage in the skill set that you're looking for specifically, or
Yes, no. In
So that's software-
in sort of ICT in the in the IT sector. So you look and say, what's the solution to this?
I was going to say, how do you do it?
Yeah.
What's the solution to this? Are you going to turn around to a contractor that is earning an exorbitant 14,000 crown per day?
That's not exorbitant.
Says the contractor.
One is used to that. Are we going to
if you're
fire the
paying
butler and sell the boat?
We are contractors. Yeah.
So either you're asking someone to take a drop in salary, no, because they become contractors for the tax advantages that come
Tax
with that.
efficiency that comes
Tax
with it.
efficiency
Exactly.
that comes with that.
25 years
So
ago.
there's-
Hashtag delete.
So let's look at the government. Let's look at where it begins.
Okay,
And there are so many schemes at the moment that companies are using, whether it's Novartis
Yep.
or Commerce Bank or
Yep.
all the big boys.
All the big boys, yeah.
They're getting into universities and they're going, hey, come and work with us. Okay.
Yes.
They're going straight to the source.
They're going straight to the source. However, there is a lack of people going through the system. I
You mean
believe-
the education system?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
in terms of specialisation.
I see. Yep.
Within the information technology area. So I would say, Czech government, if you're listening,
Yep.
a great thing to do would be to look at where the income of the country
It's coming from.
is coming from and direct the education system
Sure.
to provide the right numbers of people
To fill that
to
20,000
fill,
voids.
to fill those gaps.
And I'd love to be. I mean, don't get me wrong.
But it doesn't happen tomorrow.
You need
You've
to.
got to-
You need to start 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So your view, and that can be kind of hard to
But
do,
isn't that
right?
something
Because you
within,
need a
know,
15-year view on.
Yeah, within your position, CEO of the organisation, you've identified. I mean, it's a statistic. 2-3% unemployment rate. There's a 20,000 person gap that could be doing this. Is that an initiative that you picked up and tried to promote just for your own company?
It's
to
something
get
that I
direct to
want
the
to
source?
promote at Damas Engineering. It's finding the right channels. It's different.
Yeah.
It's difficult for a little expat like me living in the end of nowhere to effectively.
Kind of coerce or have bearing on that, right? Or positive bearing.
Exactly. I mean, I've got contacts with the Czech ambassador or the English ambassador.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Matt Field.
Matt Field, and it's something that I want to speak to Matt about and see if there's anything that
If you could
can be
get
done.
10% of that 20,000 trained up, done through the ranks, and join your company. Or,
I mean, the suggestion there is
it's
you're
a
going to
huge
have.
It's
you're
a
gonna-
huge number. If you
sure.
take it down 10%, is to help out 2,000 people in a career.
Yeah.
That clearly.
But
in
and
the
they would
world
have a
of-
guaranteed job, arguably, at the end of it. So
Yeah,
there's
so it's
definitely.
like anyone
Yeah.
comes out of Harvard or does a law degree,
Yeah, just
immediately
straight in.
gets assimilated into one of the
Yeah,
big five.
of course.
I mean, it's an amazing challenge.
And
So one of the things that if anybody out there watching does have a connection
Yeah.
within the Czech government or believes they can help, get
Yep.
in touch with Pino because you could be leading the force, to
Yeah, of
do
course,
something
of
like
course.
this and changing someone's life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
Which is what we try and do.
Life change, and I like the bit that's going through my head is how can you accurately forecast demand from 15, 20 years from now? Actually, it doesn't even need to be that because you can direct it to high schools who will graduate in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And the way I was thinking was, we know we were doing variations of this job 20 years ago,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
demand didn't change that
Yeah.
big, right?
I mean, it wasn't something I didn't envisage at going through higher education, uni, etc., studying English. I popped into it because I met Kenny in an interview, and I got into the world of project management,
Absolutely.
service management, basically dog's body getting paid.
Yeah, day rate whore.
but
Not
if
you, me, but yeah.
But like you say, you're looking at people to influence their path
Yeah.
at the age of 18 is what do you want to study? So my stepdaughter, she's 19 now, she's done her first year, she's in The Hague, love you, Natty. And within the
I've
first
got a
6 months,
stepdaughter called Natty as well.
there you go.
Hi, Natty.
Wait, you find out
that's
it's the same
right,
person.
Natty.
That'd be weird.
Hang on a second.
Oh dear.
But within 6 months, because the influence you had was right, I want to study business, I want to study psychology, I
Yeah.
want to study this. And she studied at the international school, so a high level of education.
Yeah.
And the first 6 months, still in contact with her friends from here, even though some are in Barcelona, some have gone to the States, some have gone to England. And their plan, because they're teenagers, is we're going to give up the first year. We're all going to get together, go to the same university and study this.
Yeah.
Now, after nearly the first year, decided, got a boyfriend, I want to study
Yeah.
politics, I want to do business and this. So that first year is when
And
you
you
influence
forecasted
them.
this.
And in
without-
3 years, you've then got that mindset with the qualification. So it's not a 10, 15 year.
No.
You want to get them in their first year because they're so indecisive of what they want to do.
Yeah, and influence the decision. Yeah.
I would say you look before that.
I was about
look in high school.
Yeah.
And this is an
absolutely.
initiative that I think...
Yeah, just make sure you're not wearing a priest collar, mate.
Exactly. The restraining
I
order.
want you to join the company.
Yeah, exactly.
But certainly, towards the end of high school, it is sort of
Yeah, and I like that chain of... You could bear influence. I mean, if I was to go and say to a bunch of teenagers, project management has taken me around the world and I've lived abroad for 20 years. I don't know if that's
They
exciting.
wouldn't speak to you, they'd probably text you.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that in the
We were
pre-brief.
talking about before.
There is a generation coming, irrespective of the career choice, they're going to be shit at talking to people and communicating.
There's something that tags on the end of this.
Yeah.
By the time you've got to get them in high school because with the speed of innovation,
Oh, yeah.
and we were talking software engineering,
Yeah.
software becoming codeless, software with AI building code,
Yeah.
and the levels of innovation.
absolutely.
Things are, I mean,
20 years, quantum, where
we were talking before
exactly,
quantum fields to power your mobile phone. If you want to study quantum field, we need Brian Cox on the show.
Yeah,
Brian, if you're out
Brian,
there...
if you're out
yeah, come on, lad.
And
You've got to explain this
he
to us.
teaches at Manchester University. I'm a man. You
Yeah.
deserve to be on the show.
Yeah.
But to go back to it, you've got to get them early
Yeah.
because the field of expertise is changing so quickly that
is.
by the time they've done a 3-4 year degree or 3
I
year
was
degree in a
about to
master's,
say, they've done a 3 or 4 year course in Excel 1924 when it's already, I'm not extreme example.
Yeah.
There also needs to be a little bit of real life experience within that 4 years to keep it current, because they're going to sign up to a course and of course it's going to evolve and change. There needs to be an evolving part that we don't know what's going to happen next. We'll know when it's developed and we'll teach you that or expose you to it.
Yeah.
So that over the 4 years they've got as relevant experience and qualifications as possible. Now, and that's assuming somebody tells them how to talk, not text, or communicate.
which I think, as we were saying
generation
before,
coming, it just can't.
back to an analog phone in 20 years because everyone will just be
Well,
daft.
dumb phones is the way forward.
Yeah, I know.
I'm with you. We've seen it from a dumb phone to supercomputer in your hand. When you consider the Apollo rocket was sent to the moon with 63k
Which
kilobytes,
is the size of a text message.
the size of a text message,
Yeah.
and that's all that people do these days.
Yeah.
So we've covered off your area. We've covered off consulting and helping corporations transform, improve the workflows.
Yeah.
Software engineering, the gap, the skill gap in the market, and the ever-changing world in AI. How's that changing what you're delivering with your? We had to hit the subject.
We were going to, and there's a key point to develop the thinking is massive skill shortage. We need 4 years to train people up. Somebody's going to bark. AI is going to help you, and that won't be 20,000, it'll be 10,000 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It is a bit kind of a line of thought.
Obviously the growth of AI since the father of AI, John McCarthy, I think it was, wasn't it?
Sounds Scottish.
I think he's given the name of the father of AI. I think he was an American software developer,
Gotcha.
and he coined the name artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So I think they credit him with being the father of AI. Yes, it's happening really fast. I suppose what most of the software developers who may be looking in today are saying, is my job going to be safe?
Sure.
Well, the short answer is we don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to say they'll make no effect on you whatsoever, or have a categoric, yes, it will, you should start retraining.
Yeah.
However, what I think is going to be very important going forward is the skill of being able to adapt to using AI as a co-pilot to what you're already doing.
So the value add or aid.
Value add of aid. So in a number of different ways. So you're looking at repetitive code writing, etc.
Yeah, good example. Yeah.
AI can do that. You're going to check it. That's fine. Where the AI I don't think will replace, certainly within our lifetimes, will be the innovation, the strategic implementation, and to a certain extent testing.
Okay.
Exactly.
However, we need to adapt to the usage of it. It's not going away now.
No, of course, we can't stop it.
It's
having a chat about which stake it's having in a minute.
Right, exactly.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was giving a talk with the ABSL about this, and I had an audience of about 50, 60 people, and I said, okay, just like a quick little thing to break the ice, quick show of hands. How many of you in this room want to have AI integrated into your company? Show of hands. Nearly everyone. How many of you actually done it?
Right.
So is that hesitance because of they don't know if it's going to wake up and decide we're irrelevant? Or
I think in a lot of cases it was the board saying we must have AI. Why?
Yeah.
Right.
Because we have to be cutting edge. We have to be on that train. We have to be part of it. If we're not first, we're last.
The thing is, we've all, Copilot. It's great. But in an enterprise industry, which we all work in, you don't get a license because there's the monetary aspect.
Yeah.
But there's also the aspect of, well, does it take over? Does it? I just do non-stop, back-to-back, double book, triple book meetings from 6 in the morning till I arrived here today and later.
Yeah.
And it would be great to have a tool that helped do this. So I think to contribute to certain tasks, great. When it's coming down to building code, as you said, it will never take the testing, the trial error, the production.
Yeah.
Because it has to be watertight.
Yeah. And is it ever going to take a full 2 points to me? Is it ever going to take a full functional requirement specification that comes out of all the whiteboarding in the world, 3 months of conversation of 50 people, and develop that to the company's coding standards when there are data governance rules in place within the company? And I'm thinking of all these candidates where you can't expose the AI to the public internet and a bunch of other stuff, so you're never going to get the raw experience that we get as consumers in an enterprise class and government
at the moment
way. For sure.
Yeah.
And I think we need to set some guidelines, and obviously it's a welcome that there has been some regulation put in place to look at the usage of AI. But I think we should all remember we are in charge.
Unplug it.
Unplug it. Yeah. Skynet has become
it's become self-aware.
Self-aware. But no, we have to say, no, we're in control. We will do this thing, and we will give AI or automation these jobs to do because we don't want to. It leaves us free
because
to
they're
concentrate.
Not repetitive. There doesn't need to be anything checked.
Exactly. And do we? I mean, have you guys, or do you know anyone that's been replaced? Has anyone lost their job?
No.
Producer Terry, right? No. Anyone? No. I mean, I read the headline. It might, but I haven't heard that teams have been significantly reduced because of AI. Comments, of course, welcome.
Just in relation to that, I mean, we talked about having AI in organizations.
Yeah.
What are we actually expecting AI in organizations to do over and above what we can do?
Yeah, so, and I think we're coming to that, which is it's role augmentation as well as... No, we'll keep it in because obviously you can speak.
Well, it's what Copilot does. It makes mundane tasks easier. Recording a meeting.
But you're nowhere near being replaced.
It's nothing to do with software engineering. Building. Yeah. So how does software development? How do you stay competitive? How do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you offer competitive solutions?
I think if you can integrate with AI to achieve your task quicker. You can be getting to market not in 8 months to 9 months. You can be getting to market in 3 months.
So you still get the same number of developers. It's still developers using AI.
Yes.
No.
And the gain is fast. The gain is speed.
Yeah.
Do you not think that one of the biggest gaps, and it is for me, I don't have time. I used it to generate questions before we met.
Yeah.
I know to do, and I write
which is
songs
totally ad hoc use,
or do poems. But
yeah.
How do you use it? So there's learning.
Yeah.
There's upskilling. For your average user like myself, use Copilot. I don't have the time unless someone pays me to go and do a course. How I can do this, and then you get these things on Insta which you don't really use.
Yeah.
But it says so you need to use cursive AI. Then you need to use this for 30 minutes the next day. And use 20 tools. I'm like, don't have the time. But you do need to stay abreast of all of this.
You do.
How's it going to assist me? So we're not talking about assisting the individual because we're specific here. It's how people utilize this in building code bases that you will provide to your client and staying ahead of it, and then going back to the skill shortage and other markets moving in.
I think there's sometimes a lack of clarity because when people are saying, okay, so we're going to implement AI. what?
Exactly.
The spectrum that you're looking at
Yeah.
is huge. So it's a case. Okay, it's not we want to integrate AI. It's let's have a look at our processes. Let's have a look at what we're doing. How can
Where's
we,
the efficiency?
Where's the
If there's
efficiency?
You need to build an integration plan with AI
Yes.
to highlight where it can assist you in all aspects of either development, functional, operations, processes. End to
I
end.
think if you're the software developer that says, "Look, just lock me in a cavern, no light, and give me 6 months, and I'll write you some code, and when I'm finished, you may like it, or you might not." What we're saying is those people will probably be dead in terms of losing their jobs. The person who says...
Do we shoot software developers? Or do we let them go?
We need 20,000.
Yeah, we need 20,000. We don't want to shoot any of them.
Yeah, when I say we need Informatica developers, not dead ones.
You're not dead ones, and you're not going to be shot. Yeah,
What we actually need is the ability to clone, I think.
I wish I could clone me during the day. Well, not only would I earn double, I'd actually be able to have a break.
And so there are. I mean,
this is life cycle stuff, isn't it?
And there's one thing I've learned, and it's one of our guests, Danny, made this. You still need to know how to prompt this bloody thing the right way.
You need to feed it for it.
And one of the things I was doing a network diagram recently for another project, and I said, here's the content, and I spent 5-6 minutes crafting and eking in some detail. And then you have to remember, of course, ChatGPT and Copilot are all contextual, and by that I mean you can refer to a previous one, add this in, and it remembers a lot of stuff about you. A little bit scary there because it refers to one of the answers came back and said, "Would you like it?" Because I'm trained to be a pilot, and it referenced a totally another thread.
Well, Perplexity does that. It gives you
that's a little bit slower.
And
it cites them,
which is good.
So
it's a bit more constructive for me. Exactly. I click on that to get more.
Yeah.
Which means you're back to the point: is the person that might be fearful or should be fearful is still the person driving this.
That's important.
And a lot of boards, I think, cite AI to their shareholders as some sort of mecca for cost or payroll savings.
Yeah.
Have you ever? Are you under that pressure? Or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Where I do see some very, very good innovations using AI is in paperwork generation, so invoices,
finance,
purchase orders, etc. That would normally or traditionally have taken a room full of people manually inputting information with, unfortunately, the human mistake ratio in there. Now,
I know. This is you can hire AI people.
Yeah.
And they have a bookkeeping Bob or Derek or Jemima, and they have a role.
Bob Siegel.
And you point at a mailbox that receives invoices, and it just sits there and turns them into
basically advanced
advanced
MailChimp now, isn't it? It's taking it to a different level.
Yeah, exactly.
And so again, you still need. You're going to end up with an AI administrator, so maybe this will create jobs. Don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, and that brings
potentially.
That brings me to one of the points was nearshore hubs you wanted to bring up. Access to these skill sets. So you've been saying, a challenge here is the outside influences of different countries, Poland, Bulgaria, etc., from a skill set and a cost perspective. So explain the nearshore hub.
Well, in essence, it's within the EU. It's not.
But data sovereignty is not a headache. Got it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're within the EU. We have a number of offices throughout the EU.
Part of it, sir.
and further afield as well, in other countries that are EU countries, where people who can work remotely and fulfil all the requirements that the client may have can work remotely to fill that gap of the 20,000 people without having to relocate people and all the complexity that goes into that. Just as a side point, there is a new initiative by the Czech government and I can't remember what it's called, Work Czech or something or other, where they're saying, we want to increase the amount of people. We're short of IT specialists, so we want to bring people in. But in the same breath, the government then increased the severity of the bureaucracy within
there's-
relocating to the Czech Republic.
This country loves a podpis and a rozítka.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
A stamp and a signature, yeah, exactly.
But with a nearshore option, it means that, as we've done in the past in places like Serbia, and we've worked with banks there, where we'll send a team or we'll input a team of 10 people. They'll work on that, and then they'll come away again.
So is this a
transfer that
physical space
information.
or is it a virtual service?
It's a virtual service.
I understand. Okay,
So
okay.
if you're in the Czech Republic and you go, I'm really looking for sorry, what were you looking for again?
Informatica.
Informatics, yeah. Now, with the 20,000 shortage, perhaps our producer will be sadly disappointed because there is a very shallow talent pool. However, if someone could do that from Serbia, from Italy,
Of course.
what is the problem? When already people don't go to the office.
Well, if you consider me, my workforce, apart from me and a colleague, is all in India.
yeah.
So even though our clients are around the clock, so you got Japan first thing in the morning, Europe
Yeah,
at this time.
chasing the sun, isn't it?
Follow the sun,
chasing the
yeah,
sun.
yeah.
Nobody. I mean, there are some that go to the office. Nobody goes to the office. The workforce is now. It's not virtual.
I mean,
they are
you
physical people,
can look
virtual
at
in
it,
a sense.
and of course, all the access is containerized, VDIs, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So my desk is in a data center
Yeah.
in Basel. I just connect to it, that sort of stuff. So, in respect, I do love the idea, particularly when you've got, and I'm thinking of our work right now, where you've got milestones that are just immovable, that are horrific contract obligations if you don't hit. And you it's not always throwing resource at a problem. Sometimes it's getting better, and maybe it's an AI that we could make use of. However, in some cases, it is exactly throwing people at a problem, and to have 5 or 10 people of a particular skill that you can draw on a fixed price or a T&M model, I think would be great.
I think is one challenge is, and without naming names, is a lot of these companies where the talent pool is, in India or elsewhere, want to use their own resources. So it comes down to a contract, comes down to an SOW or an RFP that's been signed with the company, and instead of going outside of India, they want to bring them in because they're paying that, but the rate is that. And I think that's one of the biggest things to get over. So as you were saying before, the internet was developed to connect universities. So let's use the internet.
Was it Super Janet Joint Access Network was the original?
Super Janet.
It was called
just
Super
Super
Janet.
Janet. Super Janet.
No, Super Grand type. But it was a Janet Network, Joint Access Network was the original.
It's partnering with institutions to use the internet for what it's for, and now it's used for is for working for web. But it's getting those opportunities. So I know I have positions, but I know that it's difficult to get them
because you've got a fixed supply chain.
Because it's a fixed supply chain, and it's a supply chain for us that's preventing me getting a team to hit those milestones because it can't be hired outside of that realm. And I think that's the tricky bit, and it comes down to the bottom line.
It does. And I mean, as much as I love the idea of being able to have that flexibility of resource, you'd never contractually, not never, it would be hard to make that available. You need to go and negotiate some sort of, and then you're negotiating with people who claim to have the resource pool. They don't.
Yeah.
Well, there's a very good point.
Right.
It's
Damas do.
Yeah. Sorry, of course.
It's creating a talent pool where people can share the fee. But unfortunately, the monopolies don't want to do that.
No, they don't.
Because it's not in their commercial game.
That's why I'm banging my head on the wall, because I know that you can provide it, that Kelly can provide it.
Yeah.
But can I get it through the door?
No.
No. Do we have a gap? Do we have a shallow talent pool?
Shallow
The pool's
talent
empty.
Yeah.
Hence, there's no resources there.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to pull on that, equivalent of a fiver, and just say, I need you to do that role for 2 months, and then off you pop.
Yeah.
That kind of sharing mechanism of talent.
And it could be 5 man days or 20 man days or 100 man days. If you assess, we do it all the time. If you say a problem, we can probably fix this with a 40-man day effort. 2 developers or whatever it might be, and you bung it into the pool. And who gives a toss where they are on the? That's not quite true. We have to respect data governance. If the capability is there and being proven, and you get that, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
That you've got that capability, that you don't need to chase the world how many accounts create. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but
I think I did an exercise recently because one of the biggest things I've come up against in speaking to clients is, and I'm sure Khalid Intelligence has said the same thing, well, they say, we'd love to use Damas Engineering, we'd love to use you, however, we only want internal people at the moment. Now,
I'm going to let you finish, but I want to swear.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard it today.
And the point of this is when you look at the costing and you take into consideration you want to find a Java developer. Okay, so what do HR do? You say HR take and say, oh, can you redo the spec for us? So there's HR time, there's management time, there's advertising time,
and they post it internally,
so everyone ignores it. Then they go through all the networks. Plus, they might involve an agency to find them people. Shallow talent pool. You're all speaking to the same people at the end of the day.
Yeah. You and I take the same phone calls before.
And then you're looking at maybe a 6 to 8 month recruitment cycle, at which time you're paying for advertising all the way through. Then you come to the interviews, and then you're using management time, HR time, technical time, and then you go to hire, which may be after 6 months. Then you're looking at onboarding, then you're looking at the overhead, then you look at the fact that we've just refurbished the offices to make them so lovely that people want to come into work. They don't.
No, they don't. No,
and let's be honest, software developers do not need. They don't need.
Headphones on, don't talk to me.
Exactly. And if you could go and say, there's the SOW for the work, we don't care who does it.
Yeah, just deliver it.
Because the liability sits on whoever it might be.
Yep.
You've got a pool of resources. There's an account that we now know is yours for the duration of the 20 months. Because I work in identity access management. We're hell bent on making sure that your account is used by you, and when you disappear, that account goes with it. There are controls around that, making sure that for the time of that account was in your hands, we can track and trace who did.
And if you haven't got a change request, you can't talk to me.
I'm virtually the same. Rhythm ticket, whatever.
So how do we how do we educate? How do we come up? How do we? Because we're going through the same problem. We're on the different side of the fence. We're looking for it. We can't get it. You're looking to provide it.
You can't supply it.
How
do we break the gridlock? How do we break the gridlock?
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, but I'm interested in the next couple of minutes.
There's one thing that we've done at Damas Engineering, which has really been of interest to a lot of clients, is we're trying to help clients at the end of the day. We're trying to take them on or help them with their digital transformation. Unfortunately, there's one thing I should say is that a lot of people are saying, let's start introducing AI. So they take people off the digital transformation and put them onto AI. And therefore...
come back with nothing.
And what did you learn? How to make things green.
And then it's a case of, until you've actually completed that digital journey, you don't know what you want the AI to do.
There's the biggest takeaway from this, is...
It's a fad, right?
Where is AI going to take you? We don't know until you've actually mapped out what you need it to do, what you're going to feed it.
But we want it.
And they don't. It's a solution looking for a problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. There are people out there who've made...
It's just too loosely used to apply to everything these days without its application. Well, it's not the application of it.
Exactly. It's not that it's not the capabilities not there. You need to know how to prompt this thing, and it's very clear. I mean, I think we've established the running theme of the podcast is that, or there is a running theme, is that AI is there to, as well as, not instead of, unless somebody's
aware. But no one has a definitive answer to it unless you know what you want it to do.
We know what people think they know what they want it to do, but we know little about it. Experts are saying, not me, but experts are saying 2060, 2059, we should have the first sort of human.
Sentient. When do you retire? Do we need to give a shit?
I'll be dead before then.
I'll be dead before then.
I'll be working when I'm 70 or dead. Exactly. Peter, we're going to have to wrap this up. Otherwise, we could talk about it. Listen, any AI-related resource type stuff we could debate all day, and we'll no doubt do it again.
What I would like to say,
please,
is one thing that we found very interesting is we offer our clients free internalisation after 12 months. Now,
they can take your resources.
Yes.
Okay.
They can take our software developers, they can take our people, and they can employ them direct, free of charge after 12 months. Why? Are we silly? No, because we want them to grow. We actually want there to be a market tomorrow. We actually want there to be a market in 10 years' time. So if we help our clients grow, then there'll be more need.
And it gives you, I'm not going to suggest this is of illicit reasons, but it gives you an internal advocate.
Yes. The thing is, we see it all the time. I mean, not me, I'm a contractor, but you're within the organisation. This huge program is going to roll off, even though we're at the peak at the moment. And I get questioned every day saying, "How can we internalise them?" Well, you can't, because in a contract you can't use these resources and take them away.
It does happen, but companies make it particularly.
But they pay a fortune.
And they do, and usually contractors like to be in the resource pool. But in my case, variety, spice of life, all that kind of stuff. And then it's contractually prohibitive. When I really like that idea.
And if you're out there that are looking for that kind of agreement, it's there.
It also means that there has been a shift over recent months that software developers, although they love for the tax benefits to be self-employed with the nearshore, people are starting to look at a more and maybe uncertain future and saying, well, we'd like that stability of a full-time job.
And there's an age and stage thing.
And I nearly did. But I've always been
an age and stage thing. Whether that becomes a good idea, better pension contributions, a bunch of other stuff. I'd need to pick a country and live in it. Although I have, and I'm not planning to change that. That is particularly relevant. And whilst there are tax efficient benefits of doing this, you just get your day rate in cash. There are other benefits that typically come with it you wouldn't otherwise have. But we'd love to debate this. We're going to have to wrap it up.
Yeah, everybody out there, again, thanks to Intelligence for powering Info Matters podcast. If you have any questions, just pop it in the email. We'll flash up below. Email at infomatterspodcast.com. All of the details of today's show and our guest Pino, Terry Grigio, will be in the description, with also links to links to opportunities, links to your corporate.
Yep.
We wish you huge luck with.
Thank you very much.
We'd love to hear how it goes.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you
very
much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
There'll be a season.
And it's good night from him.
And it's a good night from you.
Take care.
All the best.
Safe.
Ciao.